So I was reading One Punch Man, the manga, and Garo appeared, an anti-villain, in his minimum wage, overdraft, no bills being paid, no benefits era. If you know, you know. While I was reading him, I was enjoying his character. Everybody who even knows who he is enjoys his character. And then I got to thinking about why. Because there's so many basic redemption arcs that people hate. People do not like when a redemption arc is stale and it has no foundation, it has no real reason for happening and no real story to be told with it. It's just a plot device to move the story forward. Garo's story and his character development isn't like that. But I don't know why. I mean, one could have easily made him hateable or annoying, but he didn't, and he wrote him as a good character. Thus, to find out why a redemption arc is good or bad, I had to go and research, and there I found out what a redemption arc was, where a redemption arc is seen, why a redemption arc may be seen as, you know, not very interesting, kind of basic and boring, you know, and how it could be seen as a good trope as well. And that's what I'm here to tell you about. And if you have any time, read ABENI'S Army. She's waiting for you. She is. To start us off, what is a redemption arc? Well, I'm sure you didn't think I was going to think about everything on my own because, like, I'm not a genius. I needed some help, so I went and searched online. Why am I talking with my hands? And I found something, first of all, on Wikipedia that I think will help us out. So, according to Wikipedia, a redemption arc is a story arc wherein an immoral character redeems themselves and makes right for their wrongdoings, or wherein readers perceive them as having done so. That's what Wikipedia defines. And I think it's a good definition of a redemption arc. I think it's good to emphasize that readers perceive them having done so as well. I think that's a very good aspect of redemption arc that maybe I didn't think about when I just, first of all, and you certainly didn't. I know you didn't. I know you didn't. But I don't think Wikipedia is the only people who should define a redemption arc. I think that there are other people who may have another opinion that is useful. And so I looked further online. And then I found this novelist, Jerry Jenkins, who defines a redemption arc as something slightly different. He defines it as a type of character development in which your protagonist starts bad and becomes good in the end, often accumulating in a heroic act that atones for their past. This kind of way of talking about redemption arc kind of focuses more on the fact that the person being redeemed is someone very important to the plot, and it also kind of talks more on that this happened in the past, they did things in the past and are not continuing to do things, they've completely stopped and they're doing heroic actions to replace it. Then, if you know me, you know I couldn't have left this without talking about psychology. I've got to flex on you guys, you know, it's unfortunate, but I have to do it.
Kadir ve Yiğit
Wrote a conference paper in 2019, and this detailed how the author of A Song of Ice and Fire makes a paladin out of the anti-hero by managing the reader's perception and prejudices against the anti-hero throughout, only to demolish their expectations by the end of it. They're suggesting by micromanaging a reader's perception and prejudices against or towards an anti-hero can actually make their redemption arc more impactful. So my definition was just to summarize everything and put it nice and tightly into a succinct manner so you don't have to like overthink and think, oh, it's this, it's that, it's that. No, it's my definition that we're going to go off of in this video, alright, before we get into loads of examples and we get into, you know, reasons and disadvantages and advantages and where it is and all of this stuff. Let's look at my definition, yeah? So my definition is a redemption arc, or the redemption arc trope, which I haven't really said the word trope much. It's a trope, is a story arc meant to humanize an immoral character, not necessarily a protagonist, by altering the reader's perception of them and make them do enough heroic acts to atone for their wrongful past. Emphasis on the humanize. Next is, where are redemption arcs seen the most? In what kind of stories, what kind of context, what kind of scenarios do redemption arcs appear the most? Well, I argue that they appear the most in households with the most sibling on sibling theft. If your sibling takes your mogu mogu from the fridge, yes, I'm talking to you, yes, I'm talking to you, you know exactly who you are, they will end up living the rest of their lives trying to redeem themselves to each other by buying each other things and by saying sorry occasionally whenever they feel like it. Other places where the redemption arc trope is seen a lot is at the climax of a battle where there is an evil speech being said to the protagonist and the protagonist use talk no jutsu and they completely demolish them and end up changing their minds. Or it could be during actual physical fighting when the villain or whoever, the anti-hero, decides, oh, you know what, I'm gonna fight with the other team, something like that. Or it could happen at an unexpected coinky dink when the protagonist is sitting at a table, a lunch table, prison, school, whatever, and the villain is ended up coming, and you end up not coming like that, Jesus. The villain ends up appearing and they end up talking, you know, the come sit with us kind of thing. We've fought for so long, let's just sit and chat, you know, let's talk on the street or something like that. And you wonder who is writing these kind of stories, you know, who is making this happen in these places. And usually these are the villain loving mongrels who actually like Mahito from JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen, and they might end up writing characters who are more sympathetic because of that, because they like villains in general. They like things like that. And yeah, that's it. That's where and who. What are the disadvantages of having this in your story? Well, the first disadvantage is having too much depth. A redemption arc may give people too much substance, and so they don't actually enjoy the thing that they are reading, because they want to be able to turn their heads off, read this, fall asleep, wake up, kill all the brain cells in their mind so that they can then go on Reddit and talk about how every manhwa coming out is a 10 out of 10. Another reason why the redemption arc is seen as bad is because often villains are unforgivable. I mean, it doesn't always work. Come on now. Akainu, for instance, Akainu from One Piece, who did a very pivotal thing I will not be mentioning, but one of his other extremely detestable acts that people do not talk about enough, that cannot be redeemed through a redemption arc, the trope doesn't even work for this kind of thing, is that ridiculous Hawaiian shirt. I mean, get it off of him now. Another reason why this trope is bad and why there's often not a place for this trope in a story is because it is too abrupt. I mean, if we're talking about another example which isn't anime or manhwa or webcomics in general, then we're talking about Loki and Thor. I mean, this guy, Loki, has been a villain of essence for the longest time. He has been a long-standing villain for these god protagonists. So how could we then turn off our brains after so long of seeing him being annoying and picking at them, and not to mention the millennia that we haven't even seen as readers or consumers or watchers of them fighting and bickering for ages, right? How can we just turn that off and watch this guy with younger sibling syndrome be a hero at the end of the day? He's manipulative, he's attention seeking, and just because his aesthetic is one of the best aesthetics any character could ever have, it doesn't mean that we should all of a sudden accept him being a hero. I don't agree. And then the last reason why the redemption arc trope is actually not really that great is because it is irrational. Often for the heroes to like and to allow a villain to join their ranks after everything that's happened, it makes them feel 1D. For example, let's talk about Batman and Harley Quinn. I've never liked the idea of Harley Quinn being redeemed, unless maybe Injustice is the only situation where maybe she could be redeemed because of how awful Superman is, right? But I don't like it. Why would Batman allow somebody who assisted for so long the Joker, even if she was being manipulated, she helped him so long, why would he just suddenly allow her to fight along his side and not have any kind of grievances towards that? Yes, he's a logical guy, and so if she's really trying to help, she's really trying to help, but he doesn't have to collaborate with her, be with her. He can just let her do her thing, even though she should just be rotting away in jail despite her mental illnesses. But what really does make him irrational even further than what I've said just now, what really pushes him further and makes him crazy for even considering, is the fact that when I go to Comic-Con, she outranks him. There are Harley Quinns everywhere I see, and for him to allow someone who took over his cosplay, who should be the #1 cosplayed guy at Comic-Con from the DC universe, except from maybe Superman, but even then people don't do Superman, is disrespectful. And I feel like that really is showing why he is a one-dimensional character by allowing her to join his ranks. It is ridiculous, honestly. Now, before we go, I want to talk about the positive things about a redemption arc trope. Like, what makes the redemption arc trope really fun to watch and really fun to see? Why do you want it in your story? What does it bring to your story? Well, first of all, like I said, it gives the villains some kind of human aspect. In one case, it makes them feel more sane. It makes them feel like they're not just being bad people or doing bad things for no reason. They have sanity in their brains. For instance, in How to Protect the Heroine's Older Brother, please please read it, it's really good. It shows how Roxana is actually sane. It shows how sanity influences whether someone does the right thing and can often be the key to redeeming yourself. She must have been sane. I mean, look at her outfit. Those are very sane, logical choices, unlike Aikainu, that she made to make herself look good and to manipulate her father. These are very sane decisions she's making, and thus she can be redeemed. Another reason why the redemption arc trope is good is because it shows that villains are not only sane but rational too. They make rational decisions. For instance, Zuko, the amazing character Zuko, he is the redemption arc character, right? In all media, he's one of the best people to represent what a good redemption arc looks like. And throughout, we're shown that he has some level of rationale. You know, he is rational, arguably. You know, he wants to sell the 7 Seas to kidnap an underage, bobblehead looking ass kid, sell him to his father so that he could hear, "I'm proud of you, son," and will murder people to do so. It's very logical, makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Makes logical sense. A third reason why redemption arcs can be seen as a good trope is, you know, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. It shows that everybody can make mistakes and everybody can have those days. That's a big part of Joker's character. Joker's character shows that, you know, one day you might encounter some deadly chemicals and you might go crazy and want to murder everybody and torment a guy who dresses up as a bat at night and dose everybody with toxin that makes them smile and laugh because you're lonely, and manipulate a woman who was your therapist into being your side or your partner, your sidekick, your partner, whatever you want to call it, and kill many different people in a city ridden with criminals and corruption. And you may also have a lovely laugh that will develop because the chemicals that you mysteriously somehow stumble upon changed you. It could happen to anyone, really. And the last reason why the redemption arc trope is actually a good trope and can be seen as a good trope is that it's realistic. It shows how redemption can actually happen in real life with more realistic situations. A character that perfectly talks about this, or kind of their character development and their story shows this, is Endeavor from My Hero Academia. Please stop. Either you hate My Hero Academia, you've never heard of it, and so you're going to skip this part, or you love it and so you're going to agree with me. Either way, stop with your opinion and just let me finish, okay? Let me finish, yeah? Endeavor is a perfect example of a redemption arc that can work in real life. I know, but he really didn't do that much, okay? All he did is what he is, right? What he is the dad who went away for milk, right? He went to the shop, got some milk, yeah? He brought the milk back home, yeah? He's the dad who brings milk back home. He warms it up in the microwave in a cup, yeah? And he gave it to you. That's the kind of dad Endeavor is. After he gave it to you, you drink it, you burn your tongue. Yeah, it hurts. It hurt. He goes to work, then he cries himself to sleep, okay? He cries himself to sleep, and then after he cries himself to sleep, he gives you an even hotter cup of milk the next day when you see him, and he asks you if you want to wait to drink it this time. And he doesn't understand why you then take that hot piping cup of milk and pour it down the toilet. That is Endeavor. He's a realistic dad who makes mistakes. He makes mistakes, but he's trying his best. And I think that's admirable as a you know, he could actually redeem himself in real life, and that's the kind of dad that maybe maybe that's your dad, maybe that's my dad, who knows? It's not my dad, but you know, it's the kind of person who in real life can actually be redeemed compared to these villains who mass murder many people. Yeah, so yeah, he's a realistic character, you know, and it can show that, it can encourage an actual redemption. And that's why the redemption arc trope is not necessarily a bad trope. If you like this video, then subscribe, watch my other videos in the Not Bad Tropes playlist. I recommend all these stories, by the way. I recommend all these stories, they're really great. And then I say a quirky goodbye. Annyeong jana, or Jannyeong. People can be redeemed. People can be redeemed. Characters can be redeemed. You just need to, you know, have enough depth. You need to have enough character, you know what I mean? Like, it has to be an interesting redemption, and it can't have done too bad things, you know. It has to be more like Endeavor kind of redemption, or maybe like, you know, they were very troubled as a child, you know, that kind of redemption is good. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I don't think it works. I don't know. Or if you were manipulated, maybe, maybe then you could be redeemed. But it's, it's conditional. It's conditional. Can't just redeem anyone. Not Mahito.